Hey Stephen, this is Mimi with Divination by Mimi, and welcome to your reading. Um, so I sent you your chart, and previously we discussed a little bit about it, but some interesting things on it. It's very positive person. You've got a lot of really good aspects, a lot of trines, a lot of good conjunctions. So conjunctions are planets that are within 10 degrees of another planet, which magnifies it, and those that are good positive planets that affect positively these other positive planets. I hope that made sense. And trines are very harmonious. That's when you kind of make a 120-degree connection with another planet. So really good chart. Sun's in Leo, and ascendant is Libra. So the sun is obviously ruled by the sun, and Libra is ruled by Venus, and Venus is the planet of beauty, love, sensuality, value, and Libra is very much about balance, justice. Okay, and I think we've discussed that you are very much a seeker of justice. You like to see things being just and people being treated fairly. You have Jupiter in Libra, which is a very positive aspect. Basically, Jupiter is a very expansive planet. Some people refer to him as kind of the Superman of the zodiac, or of the planets. He makes everything bigger and better. He's kind of like, but he also can be boastful, and not that in an overconfident way, but not an overconfident way in himself, but overconfident in how things really are. So there could be exaggerations, but it's still okay. It's a very positive aspect still. Basically, it means that there's an expansive kind of big energy around justice, around those things that are Libran. You had a couple of other things. Your moon is in Scorpio. So moon is about emotions, intuition, feelings. And in Scorpio, which is a very passionate constellation, excuse me, you also have Neptune in Scorpio. So Scorpio is a water sign. It's ruled by Pluto, which is the god of the underworld. The moon being about emotions, about intuition, about how things feel versus how things necessarily appear as facts. That makes sense. So it's definitely about intuition and that feeling, that gut instinctual feeling that we have. And then that being in Scorpio is going to have a lot to do with, Scorpio is kind of about sex and death. So it's those things that you don't talk about in polite conversation. So these are the things that have to do with sexuality, and sensuality, not just sexuality, but sensuality. Also things that are on the side of that we try to avoid, the shadow side, which is things like death, things like the hereafter, things that aren't always pretty, but are part of existence. So they can't really be ruled out or shunned because they're part of us. The important thing and the task for all of us is to integrate that. So if the moon's about emotions, and that's in Scorpio, that means that your emotions tend to be of a scorpionic nature, okay? Also, you have the planet of Neptune, which is in Scorpio. Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. Pisces is the most spiritual of the 12 zodiac signs. So Neptune is very much about fluidity, obviously, oceans, right? But it is also about that disintegration. So we, in typical hermetic, traditional, esoteric, occult traditions, believe one of the hermetic principles is that we're all one. All is mind, and it's all one mind, and we're all one. It's a collective unconscious. And Jung spoke of this as well. So Pisces and Neptune really speak to that disintegration of the self, which is the exact opposite, actually, of your sun sign. Leo is all about the expression of the self-will, okay? So with that said, it's a slightly contradictive energy to what your nature is. Your nature will be self, not in a selfish way. It is in an expressive way. So if that means you feel love, you express that. If you feel anger, you express that. If you feel joy, you express that and you share it. and you're not shy. You have no problem with that. And I just, from what I know about you so far, you are not shy. You're very open with your feelings. Your feelings will be motivated by Neptune in Scorpio and the moon in Scorpio, because remember, the moon is about feelings. So it will take on a passionate nature. It will take on a passionate anger and a passionate joy, a passionate love. So your love runs very, very hot. Your feelings run very, very full. You feel big. And with Neptune in there as well. There can also be, and it's important to watch this tendency. Neptune is also known for being misleading, or what's the word I'm looking for? Not always 100% truthful. It's about things that are kind of hidden, as is Pluto, the ruling planet of Scorpio. Okay, so there may be a tendency for you to either hide certain feelings, or how do I say this? Manipulate people with feelings and emotions. Okay, that's not a criticism. It's just a fact that the energy of that planet in that constellation brings, along with the moon. Moon is also about things that are hidden. Remember, the only reason we see light from the moon is because it is reflected off the sun. And as it gets smaller or grows larger, that waning and waxing period is all a result of shadow, things hidden, obscured, right? So there's a tendency to that. There can be a tendency to that. But again, Leo is a very positive sign, and on the high octave, it is about expression. But there's a dichotomy there with you. I think there's a push-pull there with you. There's, if you let all of your feelings out, there are a lot of them, and they're very strong, you probably have a fear it could blow people away. Or you might disintegrate. You might explode, in other words, if that makes sense. If I share exactly how I feel, whether it's anger or love, it might destroy me. That might make sense. Okay? We also have Pluto in Virgo. I think I mentioned to you in the chart that it can mean that you've had issues with a maternal figure. Might have been a bumpy road with mom. You also have, what else did we have here? Venus in Cancer was of note as well. So Venus is, again, about love, home, beauty, things like that. And Cancer is the mother of the zodiac sign. So Cancer is about home. So think of the crab in a shell. The shell's its home. He carries its home with him or her everywhere. So it is all about abode, home, comfort, love, family, having those things around you that you love. Okay? With Venus in this, it's a very loving, nurturing sign. So again, a very positive aspect. A person that loves touch. This is a person that would love touch and love to touch. Love to be touched and to touch. A person who loves to be romantic, to share their feelings, to let their partner or their family or their friends know how much they care about them. So it's a very nice aspect. What else do we have here? Mercury in Virgo. So Mercury is the ruling planet of Virgo, and Virgo is the opposite of disintegration. It's about integration, which is about defining things. Virgo's mantra is, I analyze. So with Mercury, which is the messenger of the gods, and it's all about intellect and mercurial quick thinking, right, as the ruling planet of Virgo, and you having it in Virgo at the time of your birth, is a really good sign. It means that there is both an intellectual ability and capacity for problem solving, but there's also an altruistic, ethical aspect to that as well. So you don't just want to get things done to make money. You want to get things done because it is the right thing to do. There's an ethic behind it, and that's what Virgo brings. And that's also about health. So that's another thing to be aware of. Mercury is a nervous energy. Okay, again, that term mercurial. Mercury is a very fast-moving, nervous energy. So when it is in the sign of health, there could be a tendency to have nervous conditions, ulcers, things like that. So these are things you want to watch and make sure you don't overstress yourself, that you let the steam out of the pot every once in a while, because that built up anger and frustration can have an impact on your health. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see. Oh, and the other thing of note, because bear with me a second here, and I hope you can hear me okay. Yeah, your north and south node. So the south node is what we come into this incarnation with, having complete mastery of, really. And yours is in Virgo. So you are good with being with Virgoan traits. You are good with having an ethical motivation behind crossing T's and dotting I's. There is an ethical, and because it's the right thing to do, an altruistic motivation behind getting things done the right way, so that there are no errors, so that there are no stones left unturned. So that's something you've got down pat. Your north node, which is what each person in their natal chart needs to aspire to take on in this incarnation, yours is in Pisces. So the north and south node are always on two very opposite planets, okay? So again, your south node is Virgo. Virgo, you've got handled. We already know you're very smart, and we know that you've got a good ethic based on the other aspects in your chart. And that there are altruistic motivations for getting things done the right way, okay? You need to learn the attributes of Pisces. Again, I think I said earlier, Pisces is the most spiritual out of all of the zodiac signs. Every zodiac sign has an elemental association with it. Pisces is the only one where some astrologers are not in agreement as to whether it is water or ether. Traditionally it's put as water because you need to put it down to an element, but many astrologers put Pisces in the category of ether. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about something that is evolved, okay? And it is the last of the chart, the last zodiac sign, meaning you've reached an evolution. So what does this mean for you? This means that you're going to be taking on, or you should be seeking to be taking on, spiritual endeavors. You should be seeking to look at why life is the way that it is. Why are you motivated to do things a certain way? In other words, it's really important to do this for self-reflection. The self-reflection, the why do I do what I do part of it, is sort of the purification process so that you can get really comfortable with that shadow side of yourself, the part that you kind of hide and you're not so happy with, right? And integrate that into yourself so that your mind, heart, spirit is open to take on that knowledge. And that knowledge is a Piscean knowledge of disintegration, becoming one with the all. Because ultimately there's no me, there's no you, there's no my dog, there's no table, there's no candle, there's no cards. There's really all vibrating energy. That's all we are. We are one mind, one soul mind. And I think in this lifetime it's your job to remove, and it's kind of funny because you are Leo, your sun sign is Leo, which is 100% about the self, expressing the self and what the self wills. Your motto as a Leo is I will, okay? You need to take on the attributes of Pisces, whose motto is I believe, and that's a little bit different for you. A lot of it is more faith than you might be willing to buy into. It might not be your instinct to do that based on your other astrological attributes. However, if you take the time to know yourself, to learn about yourself and what your motivations are for what you do, why you do the things that you do, you're going to find it much easier to, number one, make decisions that are life-affirming to you and to others, and number two, help you understand the other so much more, because there really is no other. When someone does something to us that we find of injury, it really is a mirror being held up to us. Okay, so I'll give you an example. I'm not real happy with the current political administration, the administration in the White House at the moment. And I think, what did we deserve to do? What did we do to deserve this? You know, be handed this oh, I don't know, shit pie. So, so the fact is, apparently there's something about that shit pie that we need to learn because it has something to do with us. So when we find something in another that hurts us or that we really don't like that person chews their gum really tacky, something like that. When we find something like that, it's really an opportunity and a reflection back on us to find out what it is we don't like about ourselves. What do we find so unacceptable in that person is really what we find unacceptable in ourselves. It's very abstract, I know, and it sounds like ooh, ooh, woo, wooey, wooey talk, you know, like airy fairy talk, but it is actually very true when you bring it into practice. Okay, so I will not belabor the point of your chart anymore. I think we covered most of it. If you have questions on anything I mentioned on the chart or that I sent in the email for the chart, just reach out to me. Let's get into your reading. So the first thing we are going to do is a tetragrammaton. I think I mentioned this to you. So this is based upon the Hebrew name of God, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. And Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh spells out with 4 letters the name of God, but it also in Kabbalah it's indicative of 4 worlds, and those 4 worlds, are ruled by 4 elements. So fire, water, air, and earth. And those elements will be sort of the umbrella for many things in our life that we deal with. So in addition to that, the tetragrammaton is helpful because every astrological sign, including Leo, has an associated tarot card of the major arcana. So yours is strength. That's the one with the lion. Or beast. In this case, I'm using the Thoth deck, and it's slightly different looking. But so the idea is to shuffle the cards and set up the 4 worlds and 4 piles based on the letters that make the name of God. And then find your card and find in what octave your card appears, whether it's reverse or upright, meaning whether it's in the high octave or the low octave. Okay, since we don't really have a specific question. And then I'm going to go into a basic kind of generic Celtic cross spread, which actually tells a lot more, helps people a lot more with their questions in life. It covers a lot. Okay, so this is the Thoth deck. That's what we'll be using. And the Thoth deck was painted and designed visually by Lady Frida Harris and conceptually brought together by a colleague of hers, who's pretty well known, Aleister Crowley. So they're both very, one's a little more well known than the other. Crowley's pretty well known, but they're both very learned occult students and practitioners. Both have been through the Golden Dawn system, so very learned, and the symbols, and these are packed full of symbols. So we'll get started with the tetragrammaton. This is for Stephen. Sun sign Leo, ascendant Libra, moon in Scorpio, and Venus in Cancer. All right. So the tetragrammaton. So the point of it is to find out, regardless of what question you might have in your mind, this is what the collective unconscious, what God source wants you to know, what spirit wants you to know, despite what you might be focusing on. There may be a message that you're overlooking in our busy lives. It's very easy to do that, but spirit wants you to know, and that's the purpose of this. Okay? Here's the tetragrammaton. We got Yod, Hey, Hey, our 4 stacks. 4 Kabbalistic worlds: Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey, name of God, Atziluth, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiya. Atziluth is fire, Bria is water, Yetzirah is air, and Asya is earth. All right? And there are things about this, each of these elements that we deal with in everyday life. So for example, in Atzaluth, being fire, this is about things like goals, career, creative endeavors, things like that. So starting a business, going for a promotion, I don't know, starting some kind of new project in your life, maybe building a house, something like that. That would end up here. Bria is water, which is emotions. So this is things like family, intuition, love, romance, feelings, things that you're feeling, okay? Yetzirah is air, and air is all about the intellect. So this could be intellectual endeavors like education, training. It's also about intellectual endeavors, which is about thoughts. Okay, and thought is energy, so this would be what you're focusing on. Okay, and then lastly we have Asya, and Asya is about earth. Earth is your health, your wealth, your stuff, your things, basic three-dimensional stuff. Okay, so what we're looking for is the Leo card, which is strength. In this deck, it's not called strength, it's called lust. And it's got Babylon on it with the 10-headed beast, I think it is, from the Bible. So I'm going to look for you and see if you're here. We're in Absolute. So you're not in this area. So there's no message for you as it relates to those aspects of life that involve fire, creativity, goals, career, projects, things like that. Okay, so now we're looking at Bria, having to do with affairs, life, love, family, romance, intuition, things like that, your feelings. Okay, so we're looking here in Bria. Again, this is not maybe what's on your mind, but this is what Spirit is trying to tell you about. Nothing in here. So far, Spirit is ruling out a need for you to look at creative endeavors and emotional things, okay? Now we're going into Yetzirahs, which is where you're focusing your mental energy. And of course, this will be education and things like that, training. And we are not in here, which means you are in here in the area of Asya, which is things manifested, earth, finances, money, your stuff, your things, your health. Okay, so let's find you in what octave you are in. Find out if it's something that it's in reverse. So this is your card. Excuse my fingernails. But you got it in reverse. Okay. The Hebrew letter association with this is Resh. Resh is all about the face. Okay, I'm sorry, not Resh, that's the sun. I apologize. Teth, T-E-T-H, Teth. And Teth. Oh my God, Amy. Teth is about, oh, how did I forget that? Can't believe I forgot that. Bear with me just a second.